The Biden administration's incompetent exit from Afghanistan has not only led to the death of 13 American soldiers and sailors, but it has displaced millions and made the U.S. look like an unreliable partner to our allies. So just who is going to be held accountable for this mess, if anyone? Kurt Schlichter is a retired Army colonel and senior columnist at Townhall.com with me now. Kurt, thanks for being with us. I haven't seen any resignations, except the guy who's a lieutenant colonel who spoke out against the lack of accountability. He's gone. Doesn't seem like anyone else is gone.
No one else is gone. I'm sure they're going to add some more medals to the giant continued on next uniform medals racks that they're wearing. It's astounding to me, Buck, that no one's been fired. But then again, you'd have to have a coherent explanation about what happened. When we saw Biden stagger out yesterday, I was unclear. Let's see, the intelligence community did a great job. Also, nobody saw this coming. This was the greatest evacuation in the history of abject surrenders. And also, it was all Trump's fault. And the military didn't give me bad advice, but I did what the military told me. And this was great. And it was also terrible that Trump made me do all this. I take responsibility. It's all Trump's fault. Look, I'm a trial lawyer, and I admire the chutzpah, as a professional who tries to convince people of things for a living and has to deal with people who aren't particularly bound by, honesty, facts, evidence, rules, etc. I have a lot of professional admiration for it. But as a human being and an American citizen, I find it disgusting, disgraceful, deceitful, and one of the worst things I've ever had the misfortune to see in my 56 years of living.
Here's General Mark Milley. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Still he hasn't stepped down, not going to take some time to write a book or go teach at Naval War College or something. He's still chairman of the JCS, saying that there are,
still plugging away.
And we're going to learn from this experience as a military. How we got to this moment in Afghanistan will be analyzed and studied for years to come. And we in the military will approach this with humility, transparency, and candor. There are many tactical, operational, and strategic lessons to be learned.
Kurt, what do you think are the tactical, operational, and strategic lessons learned from this mess?
Not to hire guys like Mark Milley. I like that candor, humility, and transparency. Maybe he was in the infantry, so he doesn't know what those big words mean. Or he's just, shoveling us a giant heap and help and horse manure. Look, he is the worst chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff since that position was created. He is a disaster on every level. Early in his career, he was, by all accounts, brave and competent. He was a good battalion commander, according to people who told me, look, Kurt, he was my battalion commander. He was a good battalion commander. But he has proven the Peter principle correct. He is absolutely incompetent. And the only thing he's achieved, Buck, is he's managed to go from merely creating white rage to a rainbow of rage as Americans across the spectrum, across the rainbow, so to speak, are coming together in outrage over the squandering of our troops' lives on a poorly planned, tactically inept, strategically unsound fiasco. So he's got that going for him.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, a former four-star general, actually a long time ago, Kurt, I briefed this guy in Iraq. But here he is saying that he's always going to be proud of the part that we played in Afghanistan, he says. Let's hear it.
I will always be proud of the part that we played in this war. As we always do, this department will look back clearly and professionally and learn every lesson that we can. That's our way.
I don't understand. How could they be learning lessons when Joe Biden said that this was the best airlift ever and it was amazing, and Ron Klain, the chief of staff, says it couldn't have been conducted any better? And sorry to the 10% of the Americans, by the way, I'm hearing the numbers actually larger than that, but let's talk about that another day. The 10% of Americans that were left behind despite Biden promising they wouldn't be left behind. So I feel like it's a little confusing here. What lessons are there to be learned when they did such a great job?
Well, Buck, I think you're making the mistake of taking him literally rather than as for his function, which is to support the narrative of his boss. He is a disaster as the Secretary of Defense. He is right about one thing, sort of. We should be very proud of the troops who fought in Afghanistan. They fought bravely and magnificently. They were let down by their leaders. Their leaders were strategically inept. Their tactics were flawed, and they failed. And no one got fired. No one quit. That's the thing that I don't understand, because I grew up being taught by the guys who came out of Vietnam. They were the mid-grade officers who came out of Vietnam. And then they led us to victory in Desert Storm. And one of the lessons they taught us that's apparently been forgotten is that, no generals in Vietnam would stand up and say, Lyndon Johnson, I've got to follow your orders or resign. Those are my choices. I'm going to resign and throw my career away, but it will precipitate a political firestorm, and then you're going to have to maybe recock. But I am going to make my point. That is the one thing you can do as a military leader, is offer your resignation. You can't disobey, but you can say, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to sacrifice my career to force this to a head, because this is just wrong and it'll get people killed. When Milley, who is not in the chain of command, but he is the president's primary military advisor, found out that he was going to have to give up Bagram. Instead of going, Roger, sir, 3 bags full, he should have said, here are my stars. I'm not doing this because it's that big a mistake. And at that point, Biden could have gone, wait a minute, hold on. You're really serious about this. Let's sit down and talk, and maybe we can figure out a different plan. Or said, yeah, the hell with you. Get out, send somebody in who'll do it. And then the firestorm would have began, and Biden would have had to justify his plan. Instead, what you got is a guy saluting and driving on. I guess they have this delusion that no one else can do the job that they're doing, that it's so important that they be the guy who's the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, that they've got to go on and do things that they know are ridiculous rather than jumping on the grenade. Well,
Kurt, I got to ask, are the guys who are still in telling you that they just have lost confidence in the top of the military chain of command?
Absolutely. I asked people on Twitter, where you can follow me at Kurt Schlichter, and I have open DMs. And I said, look, if you're active duty, I won't tell your name, but tell me your story. And it's remarkable. It's not so much the junior enlisted folks who probably aren't my demographic for Twitter, but it's a lot of mid-level NCOs, senior NCOs, mid-level officers, general officers, who are saying, Kurt, it's as bad as you think and worse. And they're saying, look, I'm getting out. So what we're going to do, Buck, is drive the good ones out. The ones that thrive in this, the ones that aren't combat leaders, but are CRT leaders, the ones who know how to kiss rump, are the ones who are going to stay, because that's an environment where they can succeed. And
we're going to have a lot of expertise
the quality of our military is going to be